in a business that's very black and white. This book is full of gray. You come off looking kind of rough at times. You're hard on yourself.
It's hard to start throwing a lot of stones at wrestlers for their drug problems and things like that, and then conveniently leaving out all the things about yourself. And that's not how I operate. Like I didn't want to take shots at people, and if I'm going to take shots, then I'm going to at least open myself up to my own flaws as best I can and try to put them into words so that people. No, I don't really try to glorify a lot of my conduct necessarily on the road, but I'm not ashamed of it either. The breakdown of my marriage was never directly tied in any way with any of the things I did on the road. The thing that killed my marriage was the wrestling itself. It wasn't whatever I did on the road. I was really careful and I was pretty discreet about what I did. But at the same time, I wanted to recognize these people that helped me through those times and let people know that I am grateful for their company and the things that they made me feel normal and gave me maybe getting up the next day not so bad all the time. And it was, I try to justify, I guess, some of that behavior by trying to explain to people that, I was a 20-year-old man when I got into wrestling, a kid when I got into wrestling, and I was on the road living 300 days a year out of a suitcase for more than 23 years of that. And so then it's like, you look at that, it's like you're home for 45 days or so, and how do you keep a home life working? I managed to have a pretty productive home life with my kids and everything. I had a happy little home life, but it was like a faded memory for me. It was almost like a mirage. Like I'd go home and I can remember trying to read Time magazine and watch TV and listen to my new CD on the stereo and watch a movie that was rented. Everything at the same time because I had one day, and tomorrow I'll be back on the plane. And so you have this limited amount of time to be the real person. And the second I went to the airport, I got dropped off at the airport, and I walked in and set my bag down at the Air Canada to fly off and be Bret the Hitman Hart. Right from the moment I closed the door at the airport on a car getting dropped off, I was a completely different person. I was Bret the Hitman Hart again, and that person, the family guy, and the guy that was so conscientious of all the things I did with my family, for my family, that didn't matter anymore. It was about surviving the wrestling life and not getting hurt and trusting the guys you worked with and being around them. In a lot of ways, to befriend a guy like Andre the Giant, as an example, you don't get in close and become his friend and get him to trust you and understand each other unless you sit up with him and have a few beers with him or drink with him at night or Jim Neidhart. Or it's like you can go to your room if you want to, but you're never going to get anywhere with your peers because a lot of them are going to, when you really get close to them is when you're going to be down in the bar drinking with them after the show. And if you go to your room every night, after a while, like my brother Owen was a guy that went to his room all the time and lived a pretty honest existence of wrestling, But I think he kind of died an unhappy man in a lot of ways. He put his happiness. He was always going to have that tomorrow, but he never really got that.
Sounded like you and Owen had a really special relationship.
I can remember a lot of funny situations with my brother Owen in the ring. I can remember him kicking me in the leg really hard, and just as soon as he kicked me in the leg, you could see his face, like his eyes. He started laughing, and I got really mad. I would chase him around the ring. It would be like real for like a minute and a half. We had a lot of fun in there, and not just Owen, but I mean a lot of the guys that I loved working with most, like Kurt Hennig. He had a really funny sense of humor. So a lot of times when we wrestled, there was always a couple of laughs in there every night that only him and I know. Little things he'd call up to me while I had him in a hold, or I love that sort of part of it. Like this total trust that you have and this respect you have for each other, and how you can sort of have this physical drama unfold, and all the time you're talking to each other and joking around, and you come back and you hug each other after the match, and there's a real love and a bond that builds between wrestlers, which does go back to the whole thing that happens with Shawn Michaels, where there's such a bond between wrestlers and a trust between each other that when you break that trust, I mean, I always liken it to an army. You're all soldiers in the trench kind of thing.
Speaking of difficult people, let's talk about Vince. Where are you guys in your relationship now? You talking? You're kind of,
I think we talk and we need to. We're civil to each other. And the last few times I talked to Vince, he's been fine with me. I did talk to Vince in the summer, July. I mentioned to him in that conversation. I said, I want you to know that my book is coming out. I thanked him for giving me pictures and for the use of the book. But I said, I hope you don't. I don't want you to think that I want to renew all the hostilities again. And I just want you to know I was honest. He said, stopped me. He said, you don't have to worry about anything you wrote. You write whatever you want. Don't worry about any of that. And so I say that today, and I hope that that's true. That he has no problem with anything I've written, because I didn't write it to take a malicious, shot at him or anyone else. I wanted to write. I just wanted people to know what it was like being me, and I wanted them to walk in my shoes and sort of introduce them to all these characters that they sort of know, like Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold or Roddy Piper, all these characters that I've worked with and around. It's like there's a sort of a curiosity about, well, I wonder if they really got on well, or what kind of guy Steve Austin was. And I don't tell their story so much, but I tell enough about them that you kind of get an idea about, what kind of characters they really were.
The book is Hitman, My Real Life and Cartoon World of Wrestling. I've been speaking with the wrestler Bret Hitman Hart, and Hitman, My Real Life in the Cartoon World of Wrestling, published by Random House of Canada.